Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of HR Cafe Usapang Trabaho Buhat Iba Pa. Isa na naman pong exciting na episode ang kakaharapin natin ngayong araw na to. Pero syempre bago po natin simulan ng ating araw dito sa HR Cafe, wag po natin kalimutang itag ang ating mga friends, share today's episode para naman po ma-share din natin ang ating learning for today. Naku, napaka-exciting po ng ating topic for this afternoon. But of course, before anything else, introduce po muna natin ang ating mga HR Cafe servers. Of course, hindi mabubuo ang HR Cafe without our coach Darwin Rivers, a multi-awarded HR executive with more than 20 years of progressive leadership and management experience working with top Fortune 500 multinational companies. He's also the founder and CEO of Philippines HR Group, a certified life coach, public speaker, and motivational speaker and HR consultant. Unfortunately, Coach Dar is currently under the weather and cannot join us today. But, syempre, nandito naman ang ating mentor, Alan Cañete. Mentor Alan is an HR L&D practitioner with more than 20 years of corporate and freelance consulting experience. Ayan po, na-miss natin si Mentor Alan. Mentor Alan is the President and Managing Director of Creative Moves Business Outsourcing and a member of the Board of Directors ng Philippines HR Group. Mentor Alan, kamusta ka po ngayong hapon na ito?
Mabuting mabuti, Ma'am Rona. And welcome po. Hello, fabulous viewers from every corner of the globe, wherever you are in this beautiful planet, whether you're tuning in live or catching up with us later through recordings, we're thrilled to have you join our very informative Sunday talk show, the HR Cafe, Usapang Trabaho at Iba Pa. Back to you,
Yan.
Ma'am Rona.
Yes, thank you, Mentor Alan. Of course, we also have Mentor Tina Coang, Operations and HR Leader with broad local and overseas experiences, General Manager for retail company, online content creator, and blogger of TinaInManila.com, and one of LinkedIn's top 100 Filipinos to follow. Mentor Tina, how's your afternoon so far?
Magandang hapon sa inyong lahat. I can't believe we're already starting the very our second half of the year. July na po ngayon, and I'm welcoming everyone to the HR Cafe. Like every weekend, please leave your name, where you are in the Philippines and otherwise, so that we can give you a shout out to the show.
Ayan. And of course, yours truly, Ventor Rona Florentino. I've been an HR practitioner for more than 2 decades now. I'm currently the president and CEO of Opera Social Geekers, a public speaker and HR consultant, and one of LinkedIn's top 100 Filipinos to follow. Syempre pa po, kung ito po ay first time nyo po to be here at the HR Cafe, HR Cafe is here to provide you with timely news and updates, impart knowledge and experience that are value adding and beneficial to our audience, discuss problems, issues, and challenges, and provide answers and resolution to various HR topics. We're also here to provide you with weekly free training via our expert and seasoned guest resource speakers, discuss new technologies, excuse me, tools and processes as well as industry best practices and bridge understanding between employers and employee. We're also here to provide you inspiration and motivation dahil bukas ay Monday na naman. At syempre hindi po mabubuo ang isang episode ng HR Cafe without our wow quote for the week, and this week's quote comes from Steve Jobs. Sabi niya, the only way to do great work is to love what you do. What can you say about this, Mentor Alan?
Well, um, si Steve Jobs, alam naman natin, no, siya ang founder ng Apple Incorporated at saka Macintosh, yung kanyang mga Apple computers. Now, inaral ko yung buhay niya. No? Ang dami niyang struggles na dinaanan during academic years. In fact, drop out siya ng Reed College. Pero hindi yun hindered Steve Jobs from becoming passionate in his pursuit to achieve what he had achieved no before he left the planet, yung kanyang contribution sa technology. So ito yung ano niyan ang meaning nitong quote na to para sa akin. The significance basically is about passion and enthusiasm in achieving remarkable outcomes. When someone truly loves their work, it ceases to be merely a job and transforms into a source of inspiration and fulfillment. Diba? Pag sinabing passion, na-fuel yung dedication and determination mo. and you will continuously improve your skills, learn new things, and innovate. Like what happened to Steve Jobs mismo, no? And you'll be loving what you do. Also, you will cultivate and you always cultivate a positive mindset. Kaya lalong enhance yung creativity mo and problem-solving abilities. It also encourages, ito pa maganda eh, it encourages you a deeper level of engagement. Kaya you will invest all your energy and time wholeheartedly para lang ma-achieve yung gusto mong ma-achieve na breakthrough sa kanya technology, no? Ang dami niyang ginawang breakthrough sa technology like yung cellphones na natin ngayon, no? Siya nagpauso ng mga touchscreen na galing sa IBM technology, lalo pinaganda niya eh through his innovation, no? Um, lalo na yung kapag naging passionate ka, sabi niya, you'll become also more proactive. You will take ownership of your work and you will pursue excellence. And talagang you will never give up. Furthermore, si Steve Jobs, isang example siya na because of his passion, he was able to attract others and collaborate with him. And yung madaling niya ma-foster yung team spirit sa kanyang team, no? Despite yung kanyang, sabi nila, medyo hindi nga raw siya magaling na inspiring leader, pero because of his yung vision niya, he was able to attract a lot of talented people, intelligent people into his team. Yun yung tingin ko dito sa kanyang quote na ito, Ma'am Rona.
Mentor Tina, what about you? Ano masasabi mo kay Steve Jobs, kay parang Steve Jobs?
I don't think it is a requirement for people to always love what they do because most of us work because we need money so that we can support our families. So it's very idealistic to think na dapat talaga na mahalin natin palagi yung ginagawa natin. Kasi some people don't really, sometimes they're not very interested, 'di ba? But they just need the money. However, I am a strong believer that in everything that you do, might as well love it because you're already in it. Kasi a lot of us, we're always dreaming of something that's not in front of us. Sana kung mas maganda boss ko, sana kung mas mataas yung sahod ko, sana kung gusto ko yung ginagawa ko. Pero because of all these sana, we don't live for the now and we don't maximize the satisfaction that we get in doing work. For example, sa trabaho ko ngayon, every month nagbabayad ako ng renta, nagbabayad ako ng sahod. Yung trabaho ko, sa totoo lang, paaraw-araw, halos pare-pareho yung ginagawa ko every single month. And if we focus on the boredom, it's so easy for me just to say, you know what, I'm just gonna change my careers. I'll do something else. But pag palagi tayong naboboard sa ginagawa natin, hindi tayo masasatisfy forever. Wala tayong purpose sa ginagawa natin. So instead of always jumping from one task, one job to the other, mas maganda, why not just find happiness in what we do? Like for me, I like what I do because kahit na medyo boring siya, 'pag talagang binubuksan mo mata mo, may makikita kang maganda sa trabaho mo. May makikita kang matutunan araw-araw sa trabaho mo. And I think that is more long-lasting to do than to always, "Ay, kasi hindi ako masaya kaya kailangan akong lumipat." Instead of always finding that happiness elsewhere, why not just maging masaya na lang tayo sa ginagawa natin. Araw-araw tayong masaya. Kasi pag nangyari yun, wala tayong regret sa buhay natin. Well, that's for me. What about you, Coach Rona?
Actually, gusto ko yung sinabi mo, no? I think I'd like to focus on the word love. Akala kasi ng mga tao minsan,
Mm,
when we say love, it's
mm,
something that comes naturally and it's something that stays with you forever. Regardless of the type of love, be it love for a person, love for work,
mm,
ina-assume natin na pagmahal natin na isang bagay, it will
mm,
always be there will always be happiness, there will always be contentment. But that's not true. Even in
mm,
relationships, when it comes to love, you have to make an effort. You have to choose to love. Hindi siya something na basta na lang babagsak sa harapan mo at mahal mo na siya. Ganon din sa trabaho. yung trabaho mo, it's not something, it usually starts as you just want something to, make a living. Kailangan mo ng pera, kaya ka
Mm.
nagtatrabaho. But if you choose to love it, if you choose to see what it allows you to do, what it gives you, it changes the kailangan ko lang ng trabaho to something that you would become passionate about. And when you become passionate about something, dito naman papasok na yung sinasabi ni Mentor Alan na you are highly engaged, you are really seeking for perfection, or not a perfection but excellence, kasi nandun na yung pagmamahal mo do sa ginagawa mo. Kaya nga 'di ba sinasabi nila, you've fallen in love for something. Hindi siya something na basta-basta lang nangyari. And every day, if you choose to love what you're doing, dun ka magkakaroon ng satisfaction. Kasi minsan iniisip natin na I love what I do, therefore there will be no bad days. Everything will always be good days kasi I love what I do. But that's not the case. Ako, I love being in HR, but there are times na talagang, alam mo yung umiinit yung ulo mo na parang, bakit ba ganito 'to? Ang hirap
Mm.
maging HR. Kasi hindi yan magiging consistent palagi, hindi yan constant. Wala namang masyadong constant sa buhay except for change and death and taxes. 'Di ba? Yun lang naman yung constant sa buhay, but yung pagmamahal mo sa ginagawa mo, pagmamahal mo sa trabaho, pagmamahal mo sa tao sa paligid mo, pagmamahal mo do sa boss mo at sa mga office mate mo, hindi yan everyday. Okay yan.
Exactly.
'Di ba? May mga
Agree,
times
agree.
talaga na ano, 'di ba, na naiinis ka din. And I think that's
Sacrifice.
Yes, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people need to understand. It's not always going to be perfect. And just because something is not perfect does not mean that you don't love it.
Yeah,
And it's not the best option for you. Ano lang
exactly.
yun, way of life lang, kumbaga. Ayan. So,
Ma'am
sa ating
Rona,
po
in
mga
fact,
view, ay,
in
yes po.
dagdag ko lang, in fact, kapag love na love mo yung ginawa mo or you choose to love, you're willing to sacrifice. You're willing to struggle. And kapag pinili mo na yung trabahong yan, dahil yan na yan eh, nasa harap mo na eh, mahalin mo na, you will learn to struggle and you learn to accept every imperfections that he has, kasama yung, at that it has, kasama yung pag-sacrifice, the way that you explained it. And I really, really
Yes.
agree.
Ayan. So sa
Okay.
ating pong mga viewers right now, ano po masasabi nyo sa Wow Quote for the Week? I-share po natin ang ating comments sa ating pong comment section. Again, huwag pong kalimutan itag ang inyong mga friends at batiin po sila para naman ma-shout out po natin sila. Kung kayo po ay may mga job openings, naku, i-message nyo din po sa amin yan at baka maaari naming i-share ang inyong mga job openings right now. Ayan po. At syempre pa kung meron tayong Wow Quote for the Week, hindi mawawala ang ating HR question for the week. At ang mainit na topic po sa ating Philippines HR Group ay ang katanungan na, ang bereavement leaves po ba, are they mandated by law? And how many days can an employee go on bereavement leave? Ayan, itong palagi ko sinasabi na pag meron po kayo nakita na ang pangalan po ay house bill, wag po basta-basta i-share, house bill pa lang po yan, hindi pa po yan batas. Ayan. So, Mentor Tina, ikaw po muna unahin ko anong masasabi mo sa ating katanungan na madalas nagpa-pop up sa Philippines HR Group. Mandatory po ba ang bereavement leave?
Bereavement leave is not mandated by law. It is really
Mm.
up to management to provide, if any. So kung kunyari namatayan po kayo ng asawa, anak, magulang, relatives, okay? It's not automatic that you can take a leave of absence without approval. You still need to ask for approval from your management. And it doesn't mean as well that if you are approved, it is paid for. Meaning to say, babayaran kahit hindi ka pumasok. Even if it's approved, company does not need to pay you because no work is done for that time. So for example, umuwi ka sa probinsya, you took 5 days off kasi namatay po ang iyong nanay, a lot of people are saying, well, dapat akong dapat bayad po yun kasi nanay ko yan. But it is not part of company policy. Company should not pay you for that if they approve. And if they disapprove and you still went through with it, It's called absence without leave, which they can penalize you with disciplinary action following due process. I know masakit. Hindi ko nga naintindihan bakit sa PHRG tinatanong pa to. 'Di ba? Parang hindi ibig sabihin 20 years ka na, hindi ibig sabihin dating kumpanya mo binigyan ka dati, ibig sabihin kailangan kang bigyan ngayon kasi hindi talaga siya parte ng batas. Coach Rona, Mentor Alan, why do you think this is always asked? Kasi hindi magpapalit ang sagot dahil nagtanong ka ng 100 beses.
Correct.
Alam mo ma'am, meron kasing confusion diyan. Kasi may lumabas, eto, i-research mo, lumabas na Article 295 under Labor Code of the Philippines na employees are entitled to a maximum of 3 days in the event of death of an immediate
Hmm.
family member, spouse,
Hmm.
child, parent, sibling. Tapos, humirit ngayon siyempre yung Senate tsaka Congress, may nagpo-propose na gawing 5, 7, 10. Kaya ang daming confusion. If it is not really mandated, sana maging isa na lang yung statement para hindi nalilito yung mga tao.
Dapat
Kaya yung
didagdagan
state,
nila ng paid.
oo,
'Di ba?
para malinaw ba na hindi po yan
Bayad.
mandated at yun, yung sinasabi mo para hindi na naglilito yung mga tao. If it is really a company policy lang out of the owner's generosity na inaalaw niya binibigyan binibigyan nila ito as benefit, sana malinaw din na bakit may lumabas na ganung o luma na ba tong Article 295 na to? Something like that. We really have to clarify this. What do you think, Ma'am Rona?
Actually, sa akin na nakikita ko diyan na talagang, pinagkalituhan ng lahat. Kasi yung binabanggit mo is something na hindi siya basta-basta wala siya sa ating labor code right now. So 'pag chineck natin 'yun, apart from the service incentive leave, wala talaga. Ang mas pinagkaguluhan nila is yung House Bill, which is the Bereavement Leave of 2022. So this was filed in 2022. And when it was filed, this was highly publicized kasi ang dami nagsasabi na dapat 10 days, 3 days, etc. etc. Maraming naging debate tungkol dyan sa kung
Mm,
ilang number of days ba. But people have to understand that this is just a House Bill. Ibig sabihin, hindi pa po ito nagiging batas. Anytime that you see something that has been announced pero ang pangalan pa rin niya ay House Bill. Ibig sabihin, version pa lang po yan ng either ng Congress. If I remember correctly.
Propose pa lang siya, hindi ba? At hindi pa
Pinopropose
approve.
pa lang siya, hindi pa siya approve, pagdedebatihan pa yan, bago pa siya maging tunay na batas. 'Pag batas na, ang magiging pangalan na niyan ay Republic Act. When it becomes a Republic Act, that is the time that it is implementable. Pero 'pag in-announce po ang isang Republic Act, hindi rin yan kaagad-kaagad nagte-take effect. Meron pa yang sasabihin na 15 days upon publishing in a major newspaper. So 15 days after pa tsaka siya magte-take effect. At the same time, iintayin pa rin natin yung implementing rules and regulations niyan. So hindi po ito basta-basta nagte-take effect. 'Pag nag-take effect yan, malakihang announcement yan. Parang yun 'di ba, yung ating recent wage increase,
Mm,
ina-announce yan ng tamang authority. So 'pag nakita ninyo
mm,
na si CNN lang o si ABS-CBN or si Rappler lang ang nag-announce, huwag kagad-kagad, magju-jump at sasabihin na, "Uy, announce na ito," et cetera, kailangan na nating implement. Hindi po, antayin natin yung announcement sa Official Gazette, antayin natin yung
yun.
kopya ng Republic Act, antayin natin yung kopya ng implementing rules and regulations. But currently, hindi po mandated ang bereavement leaves. Hindi po, wala pong kahit na anong batas na nagma-mandate niyan.
Yun.
Companies can choose to
Klaro.
provide, but if companies do not provide, pwede naman kayong mag-take against your vacation leave or mag-take kayo ng unpaid leave kung papayagan kayo ng inyong company. Reminder din po, kasi usually yung mga iba parang, ang sama naman ng company ko, hindi man lang kami bigyan ng bereavement leave, etc. etc. Companies would also need to protect itself. Kaya hindi lahat ng companies nagpo-provide ng separate na bereavement leave. Wala namang requirement sa batas. Therefore, pwede nyo namang i-take yung inyong vacation leave or mag-a-unpaid leave kayo. It doesn't mean na si company ay walang puso para sa manggagawa. It also has to protect yung magiging sweldo, trabaho, maiiwang trabaho dun sa mga pumapasok for that day. So there always has to be that balance. Kaya may mga companies na hindi sila nagse-separate. Okay? Now, bilang HR, para hindi po sasakit ang ulo, wag po nating kakalimutan i-clarify ito sa ating policies and procedures. Dapat meron po kayong leave administration policy and procedure para alam kagad ng mga empleyado yung mga usual na leaves na tinitake nila. Paano pag bereavement leave? Paano pag terminal leave? Anong mangyayari pag unpaid leave, sick leave, namatay ang kanilang house pet, yung kanilang aso, pusa, at kung ano pa man yung inaalagaan nila. We need to have policies and procedures that will help ensure na itong mga ganitong bagay hindi magkakaroon ng problema at clarified right from the start sa ating mga empleyado. Okay po? Ayan. Mentor Tina, mukhang may nakikita po ako sa ating mga comment section. Would you like to do the honors of making bate sa kanila at ang kanilang mga comments?
I am Juana is say Irfan Nadong is watching from Cavite, and Mary Jane Magreño is watching from Cebu. Gem CC is a very good follower of ours. She's watching from Bulacan and greets everyone. Hi, Mentor Tina, Mentor Alan, and Mentor Rona. Katrina Glyza Amores is watching from Bulacan. Mary Jane Retig, sabi niya, happy to learn more and she's from Binondo, Manila. Sabi po ng ating Facebook user, they ask anyway so that if someone says yes, they'll have something to show to their HR. Tama po yun. Strategy lang po tayo. Michiko is watching from Dasma, Cavite San Miguel Corporation, MSI. Next po.
Ayan po. At syempre pa, dahil naitanong na rin naman ni Miss Mary Jane Retig, advance question regarding sa wage increase from NCR. Dahil madaming ingay ngayon. Naku, napakasaya po ng mga empleyado sa NCR dahil na-approve na po ang pag-increase ng ating pong minimum wage. So, yung dati po nating hindi ko alam, hindi, sorry. Yung ating pong dating 570 ay na-increase na po siya. So, nagdagdagan po siya, naging 610 pesos na po siya right now. This is for the non-agricultural sector. For the agricultural sector, ito po ay tinaas na to 573 pesos. So ito po ay magti-take effect ng July 16, 2023. For NCR lang po ito under wage order number NCR-24. Wala pa pong balita para po sa mga wage increase para sa iba pong mga regions sa bansa. So NCR lang po ito. For agricultural sector, 573. Service and retail establishments employing less than 15 or less na workers. Manufacturing establishments regularly employing less than 10 workers, 573 po. Kung ang susunod niyo pong question, magkakaroon po ba kami ng increase kahit hindi po kami minimum wage earner? Yan po ay subject na po to management prerogative dahil ang requirement lang po ng batas ay yung pong ating mga minimum wage earners. Kung may wage distortion po, attend po tayo sa Aprush. Meron po tayong webinar dyan dealing with wage distortion happening ng July 4 po. Ayan. So, ayan po. Ay,
Okay.
July 7
Parang
pala.
narinig
Mali ang
yung
date.
sound effects ng mga batang yay! Yay! Ang
So
galing.
bago po
Anyway.
mag-yehe, tingnan po natin muna kung kayo pa minimum wage earner kasi minimum wage earner lang po ang may direct impact dito. Ayan po. Okay po. At syempre pa kung meron tayong magandang balita from Dole, meron din naman po tayong mga balita from SSS. Mentor Tina, ano pong sabi ng SSS?
Hindi ko po alam kung magandang idea, magandang balita to. Pero for those na mawawalan ng trabaho due to authorized causes, which includes retrenchment, redundancy, pag kayo po ay natanggal dahil hindi na po kaya ng kumpanya ma-maintain yung headcount, ang one of the positives is that there is the SSS unemployment benefit claim that you can apply for now more conveniently through the SSS online portal. Sino po ang mga qualified for unemployment benefit? You need to be a member of the SSS. So for example, never ka pa nagbabayad ng SSS, mag-apply ka, bawal po yun. Dapat nakapag 36 monthly contributions na kayo and 12 months out of the 36 months ay nabayaran within the 1.5 year period bago kayong natanggal sa trabaho. There is an age requirement. Dapat hindi pa po kayo senior. Okay, below 60 years old, you can only claim it once every 3 years. You did not resign voluntarily. So, dapat sinabi ng boss mo, kailangan magbigay kayo ng resignation letter tapos i-retrench ka namin. Huwag kayo magbigay ng resignation letter kasi dapat po hindi kayo nag-resign and natanggal kayo with authorized causes and nabigyan kayo ng separation pay. So, ano yung mga nung authorized causes? Installation of labor-saving devices, redundancy, retrenchment, closure, and of course, there's also the disease. Okay? Dapat po, ang amount na makukuha nyo is up to 20,000 pesos. 10,000 per month. Okay, that's the maximum. Ngayon, kung mababa lang po ang binabayad ninyong SSS contributions, mas mababa din po ang makukuha ninyo. Pero maximum 20,000 po ang makukuha nyo, which is a consolation prize sa pagtanggal ninyo sa trabaho. What are the chances of you being approved? Very high so long as you do have the requirements. Very important po ang requirement. Dapat po may notice of termination kayo for authorized causes from the company. Dadalhin niyo po yan sa DOLE and DOLE will issue you a certificate of separation from employment which is a necessary requirement to get the SSS unemployment benefit claim. You have to be very careful. Kasi po, minsan yung date sa letter of retrenchment mo and yung date ng DOLE certificate and yung date ng SSS Unemployment Benefit Claim filing, magkaiba. Pag nangyari po yun, automatic decline po ang request. Dapat po, again, let me repeat ha, tip na po to, make sure, very, very sure that the date na niretrench ka at yung date ng certificate na binigay sa'yo ng DOLE at yung date na ilalagay mo pag nag apply ka ng SSS Unemployment Benefit, di ba yung start date of unemployment, dapat pareho po yung date. Kung hindi po pareho yon, paulit mo either sa company mo or sa DOLE or ayusin mo ang pag apply mo sa SSS kasi kailangan pareho ang date para sigurado kayong maa-approve. If not po, disapprove po yun. Kayo po, kung ako po, ma'am, paano kung nakahanap ako ng panibagong trabaho after ako na-retrench at tanggal sa dati kong trabaho? Wala pong problema. So long as you're able to get all the requirements, you can avail the SSS unemployment benefit claim that can reach up to 20,000 even if nag-start ka na sa bagong kumpanya. So, it doesn't mean pag natanggal po kayo sa trabaho, dahil nag-cut ng headcount yung company, it's all bad news. There's still the SSS unemployment benefit claim now made more convenience by signing up online through the SSS online portal. Ayan po. Kayo, next po.
Ayan, at wag po nating kalimutan na ito po ay, kung meron po kayong previous na unemployment benefit, check nyo rin po sa SSS kasi meron po silang tinitignan dyan ng period na hindi ka po pwede pang mag-apply for another unemployment benefit. Ayan, so check po natin yan, huwag kalimutan, sakaling madali po kayo ng authorized cost, po pwede nyo pong i-take advantage yan. At syempre pa po, ang ating paboritong government agency, Pag-ibig. Nire-remind lang po tayo ng Pag-ibig na kung kayo po ay merong loyalty card or loyalty plus card, maaari po kayong mag-enjoy ng up to 20% discount on all exclusive frames with free multi-coated lenses sa Executive Optical. Meron din po kayong 5% discount on shipping fees nationwide with JNT Express kung kayo po ay merong loyalty card and loyalty plus card. Ang Pag-ibig po ngayon ay nag-ramp up ng kanilang mga enrollments for the loyalty card plus. So kung kayo po ay mga HR, tumatanggap na po ngayon ang Pag-ibig ng applications for on-site processing ng mga loyalty cards and loyalty plus cards. So take advantage nyo po yan. At syempre pa po, pinapaalala din po ng SSS, ay na Pag-ibig pala, sorry, na kayo po ay maaari nang magkabahay for less. Dahil meron pong mga Pag-ibig acquired assets that are currently for sale. So kung kayo po ay interesado, pumunta lang po kayo sa www.pagibigfund.gov.ph. Punta po kayo sa listahan ng mga acquired assets listing to see kung ano-ano po ba yung mga acquired assets as of June 30, 2023. Ito po ang pinakamagandang way para kayo po ay magkaroon ng inyong sariling bahay. Via acquired assets, assets. Ang acquired assets po, ito po yung mga nag-default na, yung originally na kumuha ng mga assets na yon at ngayon po ay binebenta na ng Pag-ibig. Napakaganda po ng mga terms ng Pag-ibig diyan. So wag niyo pong kalimutang i-check 'yan. Or kung gusto niyo naman po, meron po kayong naiibigan na asset na gusto ninyong kunin, brand new asset. Meron din po ang Pag-ibig na mga affordable housing loan, mas mababa po ito. Ito po ay targeted specifically para po doon sa mga medyo may kababaan po ang sweldo or mga minimum
Mm.
wage earners. Pwede nyo rin pong i-take advantage yan. Habang maaga po,
Mm.
mag-housing loan sa Pag-ibig dahil mas maganda ang terms pag kayo po ay medyo bago-bago pa lang po na member ng Pag-ibig.
All
Okay.
right.
Mentor Alan, ano naman po ang sabi ng ating kabatak na PhilHealth?
Oo nga pala, nako, babala. Warning! Alam nyo ba na marami nang naloloko ang mga sindikato ng PhilHealth daw ay nagpapaloan? Nako po, wag ho kayong maging biktima. Wala pong loan sa PhilHealth. There's no loan benefit from PhilHealth. Sabi ng PhilHealth officials, we do not offer loans for medical conditions and surgical procedures. Ito po ay nilathala nila sa mga dyaryo at sa kanilang website because your PhilHealth benefits may immediately be availed in the thousands of PhilHealth accredited facilities in the country. Kaya kung kayo'y mag-a-avail niyan, ito po ay available agad kung saan man yung institution, hospitals ba, or clinic na kung saan gusto nyong ma-avail itong mga benefits na to. Ang PhilHealth ay health insurance na nagkakaloob ng benepisyo para sa inyong pagkaka-ospital. Kasama na ang ilang outpatient procedures at maging primary care services sa ilalim ng PhilHealth Consulta. Paano mag-avail nito? Syempre, kailangan nyo lang pong kontakin yung person in charge dun sa inyong hospital or institution. No? At para sigurado at tamang impormasyon, bisitahin ang PhilHealth website www.philhealth.gov.ph at i-follow at mag-subscribe din sa kanilang social media accounts sa Facebook, sa Twitter, and sa YouTube. Kung may tanong, ay mag-text sa callback channel 0917-898-7442 o kaya i-text ang PHIC callback space mobile number o Metro Manila landline sa inyo, space, tanong o concern. Maaari ring magpadala ng email sa actioncenter@philhealth.gov.ph. Tungkol naman sa mga HR na nagkakaroon ng konting concern sa kanilang mental health at pati yung mga empleyado nila. Meron pang kasabihan noon katanungan noon sa mga social media groups ng HR. Sino ba raw ang HR ng mga HR? Good news po. Ang Philippines HR Group ay nakipag-collaborate sa isang kumpanyang Infinite Care, and this collaboration, this partnership is to support the HR community. A unique partnership to support the well-being of the professionals who look after the nation's employees. Kaya ang tawag po sa kanila ay Infinite Care in partnership with us, PHRG Incorporated, and the partnership will provide Infinite Care's mental health support platform to Philippines HR Group members, giving them access to personalized self-care tools and resources, a chat helpline, and virtual sessions with licensed counselors, psychologists, and coaches. Kaya yung tanong na sino ba ang HR ng HR, meron na po ngayon. Kayo po ay dumirekta sa pag-contact dito using their app at kayo po ay makaka-receive ng mga advice, mga coaching, at ito po ay makakatulong ng gusto kung kayo may pinagdadaanan. Sabi nga nila, huwag nyo hong tambayan, daanan nyo lang at meron kayong katulong ngayon, kaakibat, no? Ang Infinite Care in partnership with the Philippines HR Group. Back to you, Ma'am Rona.
Okay, the Philippine HR Group will be holding a 2-day HR core training program now in Manila due to the overwhelming public request and popularity of the previous training program that was held. Now, it will be held on August 19 and 20, Saturday, Sunday po siya, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. po, dito lang po sa Discovery Suites, Manila, which is in Ortigas Center, Pasig City. The topics is medyo marami-rami po. It's total rewards, labor relations, talent acquisition, talent and training and development, which will be facilitated by one of the HR gurus that you see at the PHRG group. Learning investment po hanggang June 30, 4799 lang po siya. Pero if it's the regular rate, it's 1 peso less than 5,000. It's 4,999 po. For information, please feel free to message the Philippine HR Group or the Philippine HR Group at gmail.com so that you can register kasi sobrang sulit po na 2 araw lang and alam niya po ninyo yung itong mga topics na to, which is very relevant to any HR practitioner in the Philippines. Next po, we're also proud to have the fifth HR Asia Summit in 2023. The topic is the art of crisis management, war of talents, HR vision, and the Gen Z world. It will be held at the Crown Legacy Baguio City from August 10 to 12. And not only it will feature international HR gurus to share their knowledge with us, it will also feature some select local HR gurus to also present. So book your slots now at https / hrasiasummit.com/book dash tickets so that you may be able to get the seat kasi international po ang audience. So networking is very international and international din po ang speaker. But if you can't make it to this one and you want to travel all the way to Singapore, you can do so as well with People Matters Tech HR Singapore 2023, which will be this August as well. The conference proper is on August 24, while the study tours, which is a must do, is on August 25. We have 100 VIP passes for HR leaders who are HR managers, HR supervisors, or HR company representatives that is now at a discounted price of 330 Singapore dollars, which includes a study tour. Half the price po than the original price. Pero we also have 50 free VIP complimentary passes for CHROs, VP of HRs, HR directors, and head of HRs. Register now with the Philippine HR Group or email the Philippine HR Group at gmail.com to see if you will get the discounted ticket or the free ticket depending on your experience. Even if 1 day lang po siya, highly recommended kasi iba talaga ang exposure. A lot of people, they fly to Singapore for Taylor Swift. Why not fly all the way to Singapore just for this? All right?
Correct.
Yan. Coach Rona?
Yes, at syempre po, bago po natin start ang ating second half of our show na napaka-exciting naman po. Kung kayo po ay may mga questions, don't forget to post it at the main page of Philippines HR Group. Please join also our Facebook group page and LinkedIn group page, Philippines HR Group. Mandali pong mahanap yan. At kung kayo po ay hindi pa member ng Philippines HR Group, the largest Facebook group for HR professionals, now is the best time to become a member. Free po ang pagiging member. Pumunta lang po kayo sa aming Facebook group. Sagutan lang po ang mga questions para kayo po ay isama ng ating mga admins and moderators doon po sa ating Facebook group. At kung may katanungan, pwede na kagad kayong mag-post. Of course, meron din po tayong mga resource materials within the Facebook group. Punta po kayo sa file section para po sa mga hinahanap yung templates, copies ng DOLE, advisory, copy ng labor code. Lahat po yan ay nasa ating file section. Mentor Tina, sino po ba ang ating kagalang-galang na guest for this afternoon?
Our HR guest expert today is a dear friend of mine and very respected HR guru. She is a very versatile professional who has built her career from a traditional generalist perspective, which includes recruitment, payroll, compensation, benefits, and employee relations, and has evolved her career into the practice of organizational development. Her technical expertise includes balanced scorecard design, development, design, and delivery of training, technical recruitment, employee engagement, forensic HR, development and design of compensation and rewards program, expatriate management, facilities management, and delivery of HR services. In short, she's one of the most highly respected HR gurus across the board in the Philippine HR group. I'd like to count all of her long achievements. Okay, and I hope that you will be able to search her through LinkedIn. But most notably, she is also the creator of our sister group, which is the HR Shouts and Whispers Facebook group, which has been alive since July 2018, bago pa man nag-pandemic. She is a podcast host, moderator, and content developer. You can search for it at youtube.com/HR Shouts and Whispers, and the channel has grown from 0 subscribers to almost 5,000 and growing. Their Facebook community has now grown to 7,000 members. And with that, we would like to welcome Ms. Cristina Estacio Reclamado, who will talk about engagement through effective HR communications. Welcome, Ma'am Chris.
Well, thank you, Tina.
Ang
And
haba.
well,
Very,
okay.
mahaba. Mahaba.
Kahit
Pero very, very notable. Very respectable.
well, thank you for inviting me this afternoon, and it's also nice to reconnect with Alan, Rona, and also Darwin. So it's been a long time since we've chatted, and then you guested me as well. I think that was like about around the same time. That
Mm.
was like July a year ago. 2 years ago, I think. Okay. So anyhow, okay, I'm excited to. Well, the
Present.
practice has. My practice keeps on evolving because well, right now I'm also like a member of the Toastmasters Bonifacio Club. I'm its vice president of education, and
Mm.
well, I'm also working as a chief HR officer of a recruitment firm here in the
Mm.
Philippines.
Yes, po. So we'll be on the background as you present. Then, for anyone with questions, please leave it on the comment box, and we'll read it at the end of Miss Chris's presentation.
Okay, so yes, so well, today we're going to talk about like two things. Okay, some people might be wondering. Okay, so what's engagement? Okay, so these are two different. The title has two. Often, there's like a lot of misconceptions about the two keywords in the title of my presentation, which is engagement and then HR communications. Oftentimes, okay, when you talk about engagement, I think you always like connect this with employee events, corporate events, even no, sports fests, okay? And then when you talk about HR communications, you often think about memos, you think about announcements, your dreaded announcements, okay? And then also the newsletter. Okay, but things have evolved already, and there's more to engagement and HR communications. In fact, okay, good HR communications, if you practice it very well and it's professionally done, can lead to high quality employee engagement. So today is like a Sunday. Let me ask you first, okay? So, how do you feel about Monday? Okay, so tomorrow is another work day. It's the start of the week. So, today is a Sunday. How do you feel about work today? So, I mean, work tomorrow. So, how do you feel about that? If you are very excited, very happy, there's something there. Are you excited? Okay, so and then when there's work already, you're at the office. Okay, to those who are working home base, okay, do you enjoy being part of a team? Do you enjoy being in the company of your boss at work? So those are the questions I'm asking because those are connected to employee engagement. So if you answered yes to any of these questions, so excitement, and then your feeling when you're with your team and your boss, and then if you feel secure that your supervisor or your company is investing in your success, more or less you have, good practices, and more or less you have good employee engagement. So what about those who, they don't know how to answer these questions? Mm, I think that what will happen is you will have to, if you are the HR of that company, you would have to think about why, okay, why there's a no to these questions. Okay, so how about, like, my friends here at HR Cafe, Alan or Tina, how do you feel about tomorrow, about Mondays? Oh, I think they're just like somewhere there. Anyway, now let's go to, often these are often connected terms with engagement. So when you think of employee engagement and HR communications, this has something to do with the dimension of HR called employee relations. And this one, okay, this field is very general and broad, and it's dedicated to enhancing the quality of the work environment and maximizing the employee engagement and productivity while promoting confidential, equitable, fair, and timely, effective consultation and support. So that's the field of employee relations. We're defining it now because, again, it's always related to the legal stuff. However, okay, there are things that are, that provide the framework. Okay, not just the legal stuff, but there are a lot of activities here in employee relations that's not really entirely dependent on the labor code, such as, okay, enhancing the work environment by good or best practices in culture building. So that's what real employee relations is. The other term is, so you often say, yeah, you need to have good employee engagement. So employee engagement is actually something that's formed when you have good employee relations practices and policies in place. So that's the feeling of you're motivated, you feel that you're supported by your supervisor, you feel safe in your organization. That's what good employee engagement is. So employee relations is the set of practices, and then what is formed is good employee engagement. So we have here a slide showcasing the interconnectedness of the elements in the organization that promote good employee engagement. So we call this a high performance model because there are a lot of factors that are interplayed. So, well, the practice we have here that it's emanating from leadership practices. So we have to have good customer orientation, an emphasis on quality. We're talking about processes, okay? And then we have standard employee trainings, and then this thing called involvement and empowerment of employees. So these are practices, okay, and they are interplayed with business performance, okay, employee results, and then customer results. So we can say, refer to the old cliche that, uh, well, employees who are happy also treat their customers happy. I mean, they treat their customers in a good way, and therefore it promotes customer experiences that are delightful, and then it translates to high profits, and it also translates to good business performance. So this is the circle of this is the model that we are referring to, and this is the model that well, we use in strategic HR. So it's the interplay of sound HR practices connected to good business performance. So that's our model. Now, let's talk about the how engaged employees are. Okay, so let's compare between an engaged employee and a disengaged employee. So more often than not, engaged employees are, well, they're inspired, they're happy, they're confident, and then they have behaviors such as being proactive, they motivate others, they enjoy their job, they communicate well and completely. Okay, I mean, it's they're very confident when they communicate about their job. They accept mistakes because they want to rectify or are seeking help. So they want to rectify their mistakes, correct them before it actually compounds to another mistake. They are collaborative as well. Now, on disengaged employee, which is the opposite side, okay? So they don't really feel any energy going to work. I mean, they have low energy going to work. Oftentimes, they are complainers, diba? And then, of course, they want to change their job. It will lead to resignation. They avoid communicating with others. They're non-collaborative and often resorts to like blaming others for their failure, whereas an engaged employee will seek others so that they can ask for help to correct a situation. So this is a comparison between engaged employees and disengaged employees, and therefore that's why HR is often tasked to invest and seek out means to increase the level of employee engagement in the company. Now, nowadays, okay, we can more or less classify three types of employees in the company. Okay, the proportion here is the ideal one. So, usually companies, it's a mixture of employees, not just like among of employees of with among all ages, among locations or etc. You can more or less classify employees in the company into these three types according to their behavior. So you have the ideal ones, which are the engaged employees, and then we have the not engaged employees, and these are and not these are employees that are, well, kumbaga ito na yung paresign na, okay, and then well, they are not paying attention or literally sleepwalking throughout their day. They don't have energy, and then they have less passion into their work. So not necessarily, okay, this not engaged employees, not necessarily will they resign. Well, they will just like float in the company for a long time, maybe for a long time. Okay, they will just be like just there, and then they will be perhaps they it will lead to like more problematic behaviors. And then you have the ones that are actively disengaged. So what are the actively disengaged employees? So those are who are really unhappy at work, but the problem with these employees is nanghahawa pa. So you have like two types that you are trying to deal with. Okay, two negative types: the not engaged employees and then the actively disengaged employees. So typically in an organization, there are three types of employees, and usually, okay, if you do a survey, what will be revealed is disproportion. Okay. So if you have more engaged employees, then that's good. But typically, this is the ratio and proportion. Now, the thing about it is, oftentimes as well, what happens is, um, we often blame the leaders for the disengagement of the employees. So we're just setting the stage for how this is related to communication. So right now, okay, we've discussed the three types of employees. So oftentimes, okay, disengaged employees, and then the actively disengaged, we actually trace it to problematic leaders. Yung toxic leaders or yung mga leaders na mismong nagka-quiet quitting. So these are what you call, this phenomenon is what you call leader disengagement. Now, remember that leader disengagement, it's more complex, but leaders are also employees of the company. They just occupy a certain position, and these are also can be traced again. Okay, the reason why it's like it's a pervasive phenomenon is that, or an insidious phenomenon, is because they also are employees, and perhaps there was something that happened that led to their disengagement. So tinatawag natin tong toxic leadership, or well, because they actually create more problems because of their behaviors. They lead to more disengaged staff members. Okay, so this one, perhaps we have to check as the HR how this happened. And usually they are also leaders who have been disrespected by their manager. Okay, they feel that they are not in the loop and they are not being involved in the decision making. So what happens is it's a circuitous thing. Okay, so a disengaged leader, okay, will affect other their employees, and then they will lead to disengagement of their own employees. So we have to have like two kinds of programs actually in employee engagement, one for staff and then one for leaders, because the kind of interventions that we will be doing, of course, will have to be according to the level of the participants of the program. So, anyway, we're just building up and we're just laying some terms so that we can use it later for our discussions. So, here the question is, given that, okay, so we already know that number one, okay, a good level or high employee engagement is, it contributes to the success of the company. Okay, it makes the culture a safe environment, and it makes work conducive. So that's what we are aiming for. So how does HR work at increasing the level of engagement? Before we go into HR communications, we have to think of the ingredients that we need for good engagement. It doesn't happen overnight. Now, good employee engagement actually happens at the stage, at level one or step one, and that is, okay, recruitment. Okay, but let's talk about employee commitment first. Okay, so when we talk of employee engagement, we've already said that employee engagement is the enthusiasm and how motivated people are. Often, again, we think of employee commitment, and employee commitment is actually the level not just of enthusiasm, but it's the feeling of responsibility that a person has towards the goals, mission, and vision of the organization he or she is associated with. So when we hire, okay, when we hire employees, we actually have like a checklist, and we gauge if this employee can commit to the standards of work or to the standards of performance that will be asked of him or her. And that is what is employee commitment is. Okay, so we have also employee engagement, which is the level of enthusiasm. Now, The ingredients that we need for employee engagement is actually starting, it actually starts with recruitment. Now, with recruitment, we have to select properly. We know that, and we do have a profile and we do have a checklist. And through competency based questions, we elevate these people to the next level, which is the final stages of the interview and recruitment flow of the company. So, to increase engagement, you must first start with the right individuals. So we have to, okay, have like a job description because we need to advertise, and then candidates come in, okay, because they feel that this JD resonates well with their experiences, okay, and that they can contribute voluntary behaviors towards the goal of a position. Okay, so that is selection of the right individuals. Now, to increase the commitment, okay, we have a series of tests, and we determine if these candidates are actually qualified, their skills are qualified, or their skills can do the job. So that's why good employee engagement, we're often asked, how do we actually do good employee engagement? It starts with recruitment, recruiting the right people. Okay, so if you don't recruit the right people, because if you don't have sound recruitment practices, you don't have a standard for recruitment, it leads to low quality applicants. Low quality applicants lead to low quality employees, and so forth. Low quality, it leads to low quality behavior, and therefore they might be not be able to really um, be up to standard, and may be dropped off during probationary period. So for me, okay, if you're going to ask me, how do we guarantee employee engagement in a company? We have to start from the very beginning, which is recruitment. Then, second is, of course, training and development. So, again, okay, training, because you've selected the proper set of individuals as employees through your recruitment and selection processes. You need to actually enhance the training. So you have a lot of activities, okay, like orientation, on the job training. To increase their engagement, you can actually go through employer employee exchange of skills. Like, these are the coaching venues, okay? And then you can have investments in training. So we're just going through how these facets of HR are contributing to good employee engagement. Because as I've told you, engagement has a lot of ingredients for it to happen. So we've actually done training and development. So it's to enhance the skills. You provide the program. You go through, well, first is go through a design of the program, and then, have like um, certain competencies. Okay, programs for certain competencies to be developed. So that's training and development. Then you have performance management. So this is where it figures in that you have to have like performance appraisal during the third and fifth month. Okay, and then you have your regular performance appraisals during the year. Okay, so to increase the engagement, okay, so performance management, actually, you have to provide challenging goals that align with your company's strategic objectives, ongoing coaching and positive feedback and recognition for accomplishments, and then recognition and appreciation for extra voluntary contributions. Now, to enhance their sense of commitment, you have to manage performance by enabling employees to experience success over the long term facilitate congruence between employee commitment to your organization and other life commitments, and then value the expertise of experienced employees. So these facets of HR, they are what you call ingredients. And then how does it actually link to um, communication? Well, we have to be able to provide information and awareness that these programs exist, and also a set of policies that guide the direction of your programs in L&D, in performance management, and in recruitment. So the next slide would be, okay, just highlighting, okay, how HR drives employee engagement. Okay, so it's actually so the first, you remember the first slide that I've told you, the high performance model, which actually links leadership practices to business performance, employee results, and customer results. Now here we define, so I'm sorry, I think it's too small for you, but then HR practices foster employee engagement well, they foster employee engagement in work, okay, but at a certain level they cannot really give you 100% commitment to the organization. However, okay, you can change your practices, okay, so it really depends on at what phase your company is in. So for example, if you are in a startup company, you might first consider to like look at your policies that are in existence, maybe structure them, okay, and then really have like a talk with management about the objectives of the company in the during the year, and then aligning it with certain activities of the company. Okay, an example would be like right now we are at an age where technology or digitalization is popular. For example, you're changing technology and you want to be able to deliver your HR communications well, using technology such as Zoom, what else, certain HR communications apps, then you might want to go through a change management process and restructure and look into your HR policies, and then revamp them to accommodate technology. So that's just like an interconnectedness of what the HR activities are. Like, for example, you would want to have like help increase awareness, and maybe enhance, okay, quality processes or quality customer focus. Then you would have to also recognize and reward voluntary contributions, okay, and it benefits and compensation will have to play a big factor in that, okay. And then you would have to redefine performance expectations, and then you would have to really provide the stage for a coaching culture or a learning culture in the company. But these are interventions already. And as I've said, these interventions will not work if it is not communicated properly. Now, the reason why it's actually people might think that communication is cannot, it's actually mundane, it's so ordinary that it's just an art and it's not a science. But when we are in this, applications technology, they've developed over the years, and it communications or HR communications, they have evolved. Okay, gone are the days that we have to rely on meetings and orientations, or really face-to-face meetings to deliver or disseminate information about the policies of HR or the activities of HR. Nowadays, we use platforms such as Facebook Workplace, Slack. We also like use Zoom. We also use StreamYard. We can actually have like a combination of all this media, and we can deliver information like like in a broadcast station. Okay, and it's more structured, it's more animated, and it's more interactive. So therefore, it pays to have like a look at how we are doing our information dissemination campaign to our employees, because gone are the days that we have to rely on paper trails, emails, memos, announcements, billboards, yung mga paper yung mga nasa paper medium. We don't need to do that. We can do things digital. And okay, when we do that, we are now functioning as an internal marketing team for our company. Um, that's why when people ask me, okay, how is somebody who used to be in advertising, how is somebody doing it? And then, you transition to HR. Mm, HR is actually dealing with people. And as we deal with people, we communicate with different kinds of people. So there's interpersonal communication. And then we have the, well, the communication that's dependent on certain media. During my time, when I was starting in HR, the only available medium were newsletters, billboards, meetings, face to face orientations, town hall meetings. We have to organize them and we have to do it face to face. Nowadays, even if we are attending going to work, okay, physical attendance in an office, okay, we have to go there. We can actually use technology to as our stage. And we can also do it the way home based workers are doing. My present company is a home based company. All the employees are home based. Okay, we have 100 in-house employees, and we have 600 plus remote workers or remote contractors that service our clients. And then the way we communicate with them, we have to structure our communications so that it is done in an orderly manner. So we use Zoom, and then we use Facebook Workplace, which is our platform to provide information to employees. We also actually utilize social media because we have a social media page for our remote contractors, and that's how we disseminate information. Okay, we also do activities. We have a lot in a year. It ranges from, of course, announcements to interactive games, and just for stress, to relieve stress. And well, there are certain things also that we do, like we meet, and those are all structured. So I guess if you are somebody who's into communications and would want this done effectively, you would have to think of how the state of your communications are now. Is it disorderly? And then are people retaining the right information? Now, there are principles in HR communications because we deal with we deal with communications with employee, okay, and we have to set the stage as well. I think this afternoon, while preparing for this talk, I was going through the Philippines HR page, and there was like a poster, okay, and the scenario was she was or he or she was inquiring about a colleague. Was her right violated, or was something violated when conversations are recorded, or when conversations are recorded and published to people who were not involved in the communication activity originally. Okay, so we have as HRs, we have to have certain policies in place that guarantee these elements. Okay, the first one is psychological safety in the workplace. Now, psychological safety is actually a sense of security that you will not be chastised for voicing something out. Okay, so when you talk of psychological safety in the workplace, there should be a sense of trust and mutual respect among team members, between staff and the leader, between employees in general and management, which allows for open communication. Well, this one is a typo, but it should be without the fear of being judged or criticized. So people should feel some sense of safety when they criticize the company, when they disagree with a leader, and vice versa. Okay, so that's what the essence of psychological safety in the workplace is. Okay, now usually, I have not really seen a company that has done this, but in my work as an HR practitioner since 2016, I have espoused in the code of conduct a statement on communications. Okay, that this is the kind of communication flow or communication behaviors that we espoused. So it's just a statement that we endeavor to have open communication among leaders and employees, so that we can solve problems, and then this is dealt with confidentiality if needed, and there is a sense of trust and mutual respect to the exchange. So that can be part of your code of conduct. Okay, and then you can actually what you can do is detail, okay, the channels that you're using, and detail what kinds of behaviors are considered violations of that policy. Okay, so that when you psychological safety means actually having a sense of mutual respect. When you have a code of conduct, you have standards of behavior that promote psychological safety. Okay, so there. And then another thing that you should be doing, okay, when you do it this way, you are actually setting clear boundaries. Okay, the kind of flow of communication, which ones are considered professional. Okay, so leaders, especially HR leaders in the organization, must set clear expectations for respectful communication, provide feedback on performance regularly, and encourage team members to voice their opinions without fear of retaliation or criticism. So when you have that kind of statement in the code of conduct, you are actually just spelling out what psychological safety is, the culture that promotes it, and then the boundaries that are allowed. Also, um, the reason we also have that kind of statement is we also have this thing on mental health. It's a mental health policy, and we set parameters on well meetings. Okay, and that we respect the time off of employees. So we allow them this kind of mental health break from work, and also define it that we can also have employee engagement activities during work hours to kind of like become their space where they can just like rest, and then just rest their eyes, rest their mind. And studies have shown that if you have these kinds of breaks in the workflow, you can improve the decision making, communication, and essential skills in the workplace, okay, and prevent mental fatigue. So, those are the elements that we have put in place in the code of conduct. So it's just, this is a sample from my current company. Okay, so it's actually a game during Earth Hour, and we just had like this kind of break, like it's just a 30-minute break where we played games in Kahoot. So there. So that's just a sample. Anyway, um, having said this a mouthful about training, recruitment, compensation, and then performance management and policies that promote good communication practices in the office, um, I've said that you also have to, as an HR practitioner or as the HR leader or HR team in the organization, you have to have an internal communication strategy. Okay, the internal communication strategy dictates how communication will flow from different groups in the company and how HR can navigate through the groups. So, this one, okay, it's a mixture of interpersonal, medium, okay, the face-to-face channel, okay, interpersonal, and the technology led processes. Okay, so let's talk about first the first step. Okay, so you have to define who your key stakeholders are and who are they. So key stakeholders would be the owners of the company, the senior team of leaders, and then who else? The department heads, and then section leaders. So define them. And then you have your HR communications team. Usually, okay, in smaller companies, okay, we involve marketing here. If it's a bigger company, the HR has its own HR communication specialist, or the ER specialist actually works as the head of the communications team. So define first who the people that will be involved in this endeavor. And then, okay, let's, just like a marketing campaign, we have to identify the employee segments in the company. So categorize employees, okay, according to what? Their psycho profile. Okay, which is actually whether they're Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, okay, or baby boomers, because each profile, okay, they might have a certain way of processing information, and they may also have like their own wants and desires or needs from the company. And then you can probably group employees into roles. Okay, so marketing ba yan? Sales ba yan? Okay, ano ba yung mga similar roles, etc. Gender, age, interests, and behaviors. Okay, so try to identify employee segments in your company when you're doing your campaign, and then you determine your HR communication channels. Okay, so the HR communication channels nowadays are varied. It's not anymore yung paper media, okay, or yung mga printed media. So we use email, internal communication platforms, employee collaboration software, intranets, internal podcasts, internal company blogs. Okay, we can use TikTok. Okay, and then you just try to mix and match and have a combination, and then try to see, okay, you try to also evaluate which is effective based on your employee segments. Now, having done number one and number two, actually, this is not like step one, step two, step three. Okay, you can actually do this like simultaneously. Okay, or it doesn't really matter which comes first. Okay, but these are laid out as a step by step, so that those who are not really familiar with internal HR communications strategy development have an inkling of how to do it as a DIY. Okay, so now set your value proposition and communication goals. So why are you communicating with your employees? What's the purpose? Okay, is Is it long term, medium term, short term? Okay, what's the timeline? What are the activities that you need to communicate? What kinds of information do you need to pass? Okay, so sometimes we just need to communicate something about a new facet of HR, or a new way that's being, I mean, a new process in HR. So we just have to, or we've already, we've invested in a certain technology to help HR disseminate information. We can communicate that. And so our goal is about how HR is communicating to our employees. So we launch an information campaign on the various channels that employees can connect with HR, and what kinds of information are being released through those channels. Sometimes the goal can be awareness. Okay, you have certain team, you've created a new department, you have certain teams. Okay, you have the meet the team updates. Okay, and then sometimes it's about posting. You just want people to, feel good, and you want a certain, recognition on their contributions on a certain period. Then you post recognition or gratitude messages on a chosen medium. So that's the setting value proposition and communication goals. Now, this one, I really cannot give you, I cannot tour you through our Facebook workplace page, because this is something that's, protected by data privacy. But I can actually tell you that this is a sample of what we did on a certain, it's not an event, this is just a greeting, or a certain, a message to our employees on Granted Workers Day. And we posted thank you messages, or people can send us messages. We just arranged it in a good layout, and then they were thanking each other for helping them with this, with that. So these are gratitude messages, and it's posted on our Facebook workplace. This was done through Mural. So this was collected through the app called Mural, and then we just did a spread and we posted it on our page. So that's the whole team. I mean, more or less, that's the team per department, and they've been thanking each other, and then posting feel good messages, and motivational quotes to for everyone to read there. Now, what else do we need to do when we're thinking of our strategy? We have to determine the flow of communication. So there are upward, downward, diagonal, and horizontal. When we think about the flow of communication, so this is like, uh, is it, so from the HR perspective, okay, is it upward? So when it's upward, it means that it's going to the direction of the owners. Okay, when it's downward, it's talk going to the direction of the rank and file employees. And then if it's diagonal, it's from HR to another, okay, department, whether it's the lowest ranking employee or highest ranking employee. So it's diagonal. And then we have horizontal, meaning um which is the counterpart of the HR manager to another manager in another department. So why is it important to determine the um direction? Because it comes with expectations, and expectations, you would need certain information for certain groups. For example, more confidential information can be given to to higher management. So that's um the upward direction. Okay, if it doesn't concern upper management, it's like the rank and file employees, then we actually just give them more generic type of information. So that's why we need to determine, okay, the flow of the relationship and the process, or the how you're navigating the information, okay, if it's upward, downward, diagonal, or horizontal. Now we need to come up with a calendar, which is define the key activities. Okay, so define a calendar, okay, of events and activities to anchor the messages in, okay, so that you can have like events. So events can be online, which are games. Okay, these are, short, these are activities that enhance the euphoric feeling of a certain campaign. Okay, so these are activities. Or you can actually decide to have like a face to face activity. So you have to have a calendar, and you can complement your key messages or align your key messages to an actual activity to deliver the message. Okay, so ito yung mga company events lang. And it's better to have everything in a calendar of events so that you can already plot it out and see the totality of your events in a semester or in a year. With your calendar of events, you will be able to determine your budget. Okay, so your logistics budget and other resources. Okay, so and then at the end of each period, you can evaluate your HR communication drivers for success, and those successful activities can be replicated. Okay, so yun. And then, of course, you need to measure your communications efforts. And then, those that are unsuccessful, you can just like not repeat those. But those that have a lingering effect with employees, you can repackage it in a later campaign. Like, for example, before, okay, before everything else, there was this notion that to be able to foster a sense of camaraderie among employees, okay, we have to have like a company outing. Okay, and the company outing has a series of like sub activities, right? Now, because of, this year we actually didn't have a company outing because by the time that we were able to get employee feedback, etc., the number of COVID cases were on the rise again in March and April. Therefore, we decided, since we are home based anyway and we were doing things online anyway, whatever the total cost of the company event was, what we did was we just actually spread it during the 12 months of the year. And what we had were we had a campaign where we would actually feature the core values of the company, have have a contest on what the core values mean as practiced by the company, and then we awarded prizes to the best essay. So that's why when we did that, we were able to see that these kinds of employee engagement activities can be linked and can enhance the learning of the core values, and we used it as the framework for our first and second year and first and second quarter campaign to the employees. So anyway, upon evaluating your HR communication drivers, we have to ask these questions like, what is the engagement rate per posting? So those are KPIs that we measure our success with. And what is the employee feedback? And then, in a way, if you look at like the holistic plan, you can actually see if HR communication campaign can be linked to employee turnover. So these slides, okay, I'm giving these slides to the HR, the Philippines HR group. If you want to have these slides, I can provide it, and then you can go over these steps to be able to create your internal communication strategy. Now, these are employees, or these are employee engagement activities and communications that are classified as the positive, that are, that have been developed to provide positive messages. Okay, so the slide in this slide. Now, the question is, what if it's the bad news or it's crisis management? So, how can HR do it? Well, it's still the same thing. You have to communicate through a crisis, and then you have to have a plan. However, okay, the change in the plan is, well, would have to provide more face-to-face avenues for orientations. Okay, for example, during 2020, I mean, you do know that we went through something in 2020, and we had to have like a crisis plan and a HR communications plan for the crisis that we face. Okay, so this one, we had to establish committees on that one, okay, to deal with our migration to home-based setups or flexible work arrangements. And then we have to send out like official internal communications, okay, that openly outlines the situation and what the company is doing to overcome it. That's why we need to have like a steering committee for this, involving all the necessary heads of departments, and then we have to have like an official statement for what's going on. Now, the information, the written communication that we need to provide in email and in our platforms has to be concise, and it has to have the 5 R's. Okay, like the details that's needed, and the how the organization will be impacted by this crisis. Okay, then, okay, now do not deal with it via email or any digital platform for other details. Okay, because what I'm trying to say is, just have an official statement, and then if there's Q&A, then set up a schedule with team members or individuals to discuss it further or deep dive into it, and then prepare and explain what provisions are being made to accommodate employees in distress. So provide hotlines and keep communication lines open. So in other words, link your HR plan, your actual HR intervention plan, have a communications plan for it. Now, here, okay, ultimately, okay, we've discussed a lot of concepts today. And in summary, so the question that begs to be answered is how to strengthen employee engagement to HR communications. Okay, so it's a series of steps. As I've said, it starts with good recruitment practices, okay, a sound L&D plan, and then regular and consistent performance management. In those interventions, okay, we have to uphold the company's core values. You have to have core values because these are behaviors. In the core values, you define the behaviors that are acceptable in the company. Okay, you can allow, okay, so open your communication channels as HR and allow honest feedback. A feedback mechanism would be great, okay, but you have to be clear on the context of the mechanism. So, what are these mechanisms for feedback? As I've said, so we have the one that's technology led. Okay, so you have your platforms. However, HR still has to do something on the back end. Okay, so these are our ER practices. In my company and in my career, I've done stay interviews. What are stay interviews? Stay interviews are sessions with an employee, and you just basically ask an employee at certain stages of his employee journey in the company, how is that how is he doing? Okay, how's his relationship with the company and supervisor? Okay, how is he doing? Does he need help? How does he understand what's going on in the company? This is best when, you know, an employee has just been with the company um, on the first week, and then on the third month appraisal as a debriefing, and then on the fifth month. So you conduct stay interviews. This is actually similar to exit interviews. Only exit interviews, of course, you need to debrief the employee on how his entire employee journey was in the company and what led to the final decision of resigning from the organization. So, another feedback mechanism is the 360-degree performance appraisal, okay, where leaders are, evaluated by their team members and their peers. So, you just have to define that very well. And then, of course, the anonymous or whistleblower feedback mechanism. Now, um, just to really elaborate on this one, an anonymous feedback mechanism is acceptable. However, okay, the context of an anonymous feedback is for finding faults and for finding misdemeanors, actually, or investigating misbehaviors. However, for 360-degree performance appraisal, there are those companies that also code the raters. And it's okay as long as there's a record in HR. And the context of that one, or the goal of that one, is actually for developmental reasons. Okay. So please do not interchange it. Okay. And then, of course, you have your employee engagement survey. So you have feedback mechanisms in place for your practice. Okay, and this is different from your HR. Well, it's actually interrelated, but not your entire HR communications plan, because your HR communications plan is designed to promote your activities and promote the mechanisms in which you that you use to actually do employee engagement or enhance employee engagement. And then, of course, you have your recognition of top performers, okay? And then this culture of accountability as well that goes with the culture of psychological safety. And lastly, okay, you strengthen your employee engagement, because if you just keep quiet and you don't promote it, then it will all boil down to different readings of what's going on in the company, and it will water down your messages. So you have to promote your activities. So actually, that's how I answer how HR communications will serve your employee engagement plan. Okay, and then that's how it serves to promote your good relations practices. So Tina, Ellen, and Rona, actually that's my whole session, that's my whole lecture for this afternoon.
All
Thank you
right.
so much.
Much. Yun.
Do we have a last slide, Ma'am Chris, on how people can contact you?
Well, people can contact me. I'm actually online all the time. So you can
And
they,
mm-mm.
they can contact me here on my Facebook page. I'm on LinkedIn. They can just search Cristina Estacio Reclamado. Okay. Well, I accept speaking engagements on weekends. Okay, but on weekdays I have my day job.
A lot of people parang ano, a lot of people are saying that HR communications require you to be able to properly communicate with the other person. Pero it seems kasi na there's a lot of HR practitioners now who find it difficult to speak in straight English. Kasi 'di ba parang there's findings that Filipinos are quite low with regards to reading comprehension, and that a lot of our new graduates are. nahihirapan din po sila. Do you think that the English language is still very important when you want to do Philippine HR correctly? Or it's just a cherry on top?
It's a requirement because English is a business language, and Filipinos and the Philippines, we have our business landscape. We have a lot of international clients, and we have international companies that
Mm.
are in the Philippines. So if you are in HR, it is a core competency to have excellent communication skills in English. The problem with a lot of Filipinos and this generation, parang feeling matanda na, no? Pero yung
Mm.
this generation, the reason that we cannot communicate well is because we do not invest in reading. So
Ah.
yeah, because if you are not a reader, you don't, well, it's like this. Communication means that you are able to voice your ideas, your opinions, but
Mm.
you have to feed your mind, and you have to be able to survey the best ideas. So if you are not a reader, get into that habit so that you will be able to open your mindset.
And marami nagtatanong regarding standard templates on how to write incident reports and NTEs na napakahirap sagutin sa Philippine HR group because every IR is dependent on the circumstances involved, of which most of us are not privy to. How would you advise those of HRs na ayaw magsulat ng report? Which creates problems in the long run kasi there's a lack of documentation because many people just don't know how to customize incident reports to the situation. They just want templates. Add the offense there, add the dates there, add the name there, tapos send it out. And that's not effective HR communication.
Honestly, I do not give templates to a lot of,
Correct, 'di ba?
okay,
Opo.
because a standard IR, an incident report only needs the details. So as
Mm.
I've said, you need to have the details. So that's the who, what, when, where, why, and how. So if you
Mm.
can compose that, that's already an incident report. And you have to sign it, okay?
Natatakot kasi silang magbigay kasi baka daw magkamali yung sinulat.
Well, in ano naman in as an HR, ang ano naman natin, language used in the companies are both English and Tagalog. So we
Mm.
can accept naman Taglish, we can accept Tagalog. And then if your company is situated in the Visayas, it doesn't really need to be in English. They can write it in Bisaya. So as
Mm.
long as the details are there, okay, and it's signed, okay, kasi we need to know nga yung details. When, di ba? Who, what, when, where, why, and how. yun, yun
Mm.
lang. And it can be like, a letter, or it can be like a memo. It doesn't really need to have yung kailangan may template pa. Okay. Parang
Mm.
yung resignation letter, kinokopya lang nila sa Google, di ba?
Mm.
Hindi naman nila naintindihan kung anong nandoon. Mas maganda yung nasa sarili mong lengguwahe,
Mm.
Tagalog, Bisaya, Kapampangan, 'di ba? Kung 'yun talaga yung ginagamit ng majority dun sa company, para nagkakaintindihan kayo.
Kuya Bab says, great presentation, Miss Cristina. Cristina San Pedro Juliano also said, AI or artificial intelligence can now help us draft our incident reports, notice to explains, and resignation letters if
I
needed.
I am actually old school. I do not really well there are
Ask. Mm.
I don't there are people like Chat GPT, they said that you can already do JDs, they can already
Mm.
memos. Okay, the problem with Chat GPTs, these are also like templates. Okay,
Mm.
and with JDs, you need to be able to go through, well, job analysis, 'di ba? To go through yung competency profiles ng mga empleyado sa company. So if you go through that route, what you will have is it's a templated answer, and it might not be fit into your or aligned into your business reality.
Agree,
Mm.
agree.
So
Any
answer
question?
with AI, AI can enhance your practice, but it shouldn't lord over your practice.
Yeah.
And mm,
Ako naman,
right.
nasa ano yun, garbage in, garbage out pa rin yun eh. When you use
Correct.
AI, you should ask the right question. Ang tawag nila yata ron is prompt engineering.
Prompts. Yeah.
Pag mali ang tanong mo, yan, template ang makuha mo. Wala kang
Mm,
makuha ang substantial na customized. So your question should also be customized.
Which
Anyway,
means na dapat naintindihan mo pa din kung ano yung
yes, ikaw mismo,
kailangan. Oo,
naintindihan mo yung
meron pa ring
kailangan
gano'n.
mo. May
The
question po ako.
Apo.
Speaking of employee engagement, ma'am, ano po yung na-experience ninyo ng mga talagang obstacles na na-challenge po talaga kayo, how to overcome those obstacles in the company? Kasi there are some people who are resisting it. Minsan mga leaders pa mismo yung mga nagre-resist sa mga employee engagement activities mo. And how do you overcome them? Yung mga ganitong klaseng very challenging obstacles.
Well, a common problem that I've encountered is resistance. And resistance arises from um, well, it's actually misunderstanding what the HR concepts are. Number one, employee engagement per se, as I've mentioned, akala nila mga sports fest lang yan, mga games, mga activities. But actually, employee engagement is something deeper. Okay, it's actually the person's motivation to go to work, and it's actually enthusiasm and passion in the workplace. So it's deeper. So that's one misconception. And when I explain that, parang nasya-shock sila. And how do you measure something that's not demonstrated? You measure it through back to basics pa rin. Ngayon kasi madami ng mga permutations ng terms, okay? Pero it boils down to the basics pa rin, okay? Like attendance is a measure of attitude. It's actually quantifiable. Okay, that's one.
mm,
That's why we
mm,
go through that's actually yun yung yung mga Gen Y managers hindi nila maintindihan. Attendance lang naman yan eh. Bakit
mm,
bakit stickler for details ka? Ganon.
mm,
And it's just say, kasi if more or less ito ay nasa level na ng infraction, we can say that this person doesn't like being at work, and that's low engagement or
mm,
disengagement already. So yung mga ganon, and then leading to that, the often encounter kasi ito mga qualitative concepts, they have their KPIs, 'di ba? Alam nila yung definition, okay? Informed sila, pero they don't know how to measure it. So that's one. And ngayon kasi we're into like data driven decision making in HR na. So nahihirapan sila din mag-measure. So that's why there's a pushback because they feel that if they measure it, magiging complicated lang steps. Pero it's simple lang naman.
mm,
So how do we counter it? Education. So we have to go through an organizational intervention of training back to basics, and then we teach them balance scorecard, and then the interplay of finances, 'di ba? Internal processes, organizational capacity building, mga ganon. So we have to teach them why it's important to have a balanced scorecard.
mm. May tanong tayo sa floor. Sabi po, it's a timely session. Thanks for the opportunity. And one of the challenge I experienced po sa engagement is the approval matrix. Why do you think that's the case po?
Can be because of the budget. That's one.
Mm,
Logistics also, but it's really more of the budget. Actually,
mm,
pag ang the smaller the company, they might not find it. worthwhile to invest in engagement activities.
Mm.
However, okay, there has to be like also an education on the owners why it's needed. So that's probably why it's challenging to have it approved. And then I suggest to go back, hindi siya lang kasi usually ang pitfall ng mga HRs, gumagawa lang sila ng budget. Dapat
Mm.
gumawa sila ng HR agenda, gumawa sila ng
Mm.
plan, and then they put their HR budget there. And they would see that employee engagement activities is just a portion, and it leads to supporting their training activities, their performance management activities, etc. Para makita na ng mga bosses nila kung ano yung, kasi it's a puzzle eh. It's actually
Mm.
one big puzzle. And then ang binibigay lang nila yung employee engagement activities and programs nila. If the owners would see it as a whole, the overall picture, baka mas madalian silang ma-explain yun.
I have a tip from my parent kasi my father used to get consensus in large, very highly political organizations. Sabi niya, when you get into a meeting, when there is a vote on your idea, you should already know the answer even before you step into that door. Kasi a
That's
lot of people, 'di ba? Ma'am Chris.
Well, actually, a good HR would be able to predict the future or
Yes.
or describe the future to the employee. So you don't just go in with the plan, but you tell them what exactly are you measuring and what is the outcome of that plan.
Because a lot of people, they're so afraid to express their ideas before they formally present it to the board or to everything. But before you even start presenting it, you should already know the answer.
Something's wrong with the line of
Oo.
Yeah.
Martina.
Yeah, mukhang
So,
nag-anuhang siya. So habang inaantay natin si Mentor Tina, Ma'am Chris, may question ako. Kasi kung yung question kanina ni Mentor Alan is more of yung mga may resistance to the engagement program. What about naman if the resistance is coming from the programs ni HR kasi super dami naman. Parang there's over communication, parang every month may survey, tapos sobrang dami na nung activities na hindi naman na nakakapag-focus si employee sa work. So yun na yung nirereklamo nila. What's the best way to handle po that cases?
That's why it's really like this one is, 'di ba? This one really programs of HR, the calendar activities should not be done by the HR like she's an island. Okay, so she has to communicate with her line, work with her line managers, with the line managers, and really like this one is an endeavor of the whole company so that there's a balance of activities. Kasi ano na to eh, fun activities or they're low, actually hindi naman talaga siya strategic na activities. Okay, they're just, I would just say that these activities are have, I wouldn't say low value, but the yield is actually just to provide fun or a break or yun nga, mental health break, okay, to the monotony of work. What you would need to do is actually the pre-work, like performance appraisal, yung mga ganun. So you have to balance it and come up with a calendar na. So that's why I would suggest like, well, it's July now. In October, you would have your strategic planning or your for 2024. You have to already provide your whole plan as an HR para balance talaga. Because if you really just treat employee engagement yung parang separate from your other inventions, you will end up having a lot of activities talaga na
overwhelming na. No?
overwhelming na sa mga
May
empleyado.
follow-up question. Sa training kasi at saka sa OD, may ginagawa kami mga needs assessment para sabi mo nga strategic yung mga intervention, targeted at balanced. Meron din bang something like that in employee engagement? Para yung mga activities mo and other complementary programs are really targeted and mas efficient. Hindi yung kung ano yung inabutan mo last year o sa dating manager, i-implement mo na yun, plus dagdag mo pa yung sa yung employee engagement, yan dami na, overwhelming na. Efficient dahil targeted siya at based on the needs assessment. Meron ba gano'n, parang needs assessment yung employee engagement?
Actually, ang ginagawa kasi namin for like employee relations is actually we come up with an FGD. Okay,
Mm.
FGD. It's actually or climate survey. Then it leads to FGD, and then the FGD actually assesses the climate, the culture. Ito na nga yung sinasabi natin. You ask the employee how do you feel supported by your leader, by your
Mm.
manager? How do you feel how do you feel at work? As in, tas meron kaming pinapasagutan doon. And then, this actually kasi is, we have a framework of yung mga psychological safety, and then we combined it with the lean approach. Okay, so pinapasagutan namin yon, and then meron doon from general to specific, like what activities did you participate in? Were you fully engaged? What were the reasons? Meron kaming mga ganon. It's actually a survey or an interview or an FGD.
Okay.
The success
Diagnostics din.
diagnostics rin talaga. Well, in smaller companies, hindi nila na-feel yon kasi parang nag-FGD lang yung, nag-meeting lang yung HR, tinanong lang sila, etc. In bigger companies, may survey talaga.
Okay. Thank you.
We have question on the floor. Sabi po, what effective measure do you use for disengaged employees? Yet in terms of performance, he or she delivers.
Well,
What do you?
merong seemingly disengaged employees, but it's just because their behavior, they're introverts, and they just look like they're disengaged. So we have to they have
Respect.
they just have to respect it, but he has that the question, the one that posted this question would have to define what he means or what it's meant by disengagement, kasi very vague sa akin kung ano yung sinasabi niya, kasi kung behavior lang, like, what is your policy with activities? Is it voluntary or is it
Mm.
required? Kasi kung
Mm.
voluntary siya, pwedeng ano lang siya, pwedeng, may sinabi niyo, pwede naman mag-no. Eh di nag-no siya. O, ganon. If the person is disengaged because that person has low attend, kasi mga signposts yan ng ano ng
Mm.
mga behaviors. Okay, if you say that the person is disengaged because low attend, yung record niya ng attendance laging tardy, okay, and
Mm.
then yung quality of work niya palaging bumabalik sa kanya, palaging may comment yung ano. So, that could be a performance issue, so the person should be coached. Okay? If not coach, baka hindi siya, kasi it doesn't necessarily lead to an L&D intervention. Baka coaching lang, or
Mm.
tanungin natin kung ano dun sa coaching, kung ano yung outcome, kasi it leads to, like, 'di ba, performance improvement plans, etc. So we have to define what you mean by disengagement. Okay, kasi ano yan, simple or complex? Okay.
Mm. There's a longer question. Can
Mhm.
employees recommend to management na palitan na lang ang HR staff? Because most of the time, yung problema ng mga employees hindi naman na-address dahil hindi daw sila approachable at may negative attitude pang kasama. Like, mga questions sa government, hindi naman na-address. Sinasagot tapos nagdadabog lang at nagpapalala pa ang mga employees na nasa baba.
Ay,
I like the
kawawa naman.
question. I love the question.
Well, that's a performance issue, kasi HR has a set of KPIs. Dapat may KPIs ang HR. Meron kaming tinatawag na ticketing. If you're familiar with Fresh Desk, meron kaming ticketing service. And we see the CSAT, you can employ technology there, and then you can use the data. I mean, the HR head should be able to already see that, capture the data na
Mm.
underperforming yung employees niya. Therefore, it leads to a process, 'di ba, na performance coaching nga, then 'di ba, PIP, and then eventually termination. Can employees recommend to management na palitan ng HR? Actually, pwede nga naman kayong magsabi na palitan ng HR manager. That has happened to me a lot in my gigs as an HR practitioner. However, hindi ako natatanggal kasi I can really perform because I have KPIs. And
Mm.
that's why we have HR communication um, mechanisms, okay, or activities. Like in town hall meetings, pinopromote natin yan. So I actually can convert these people to my side because I use these promotional, these HR communication tools to also say na may ginagawa naman yung HR. And by the way, I think I neglected to say in my session or in my lecture that HR communications is two-way. Yes, you can say that pwede mong palitan yung tao, pero yung pagpapalit ng tao, due process. So, it really also depends kung maku-coach pa siya, coachable pa ba, pwede pa bang mag-performance improvement plan. Pag hindi na, so mapapalitan nga siya.
Mm. I find yung mga HR na galit, palaging galit bago ka pa nagtatanong. Usually, yun yung mga HR na hindi alam yung sagot. So, they always preempt it na magagalit sila, magtatampo sila. But it's actually a defensive move para hindi ka na magtanong. Kasi when you ask follow-up questions, they really don't know the answer. that's,
That's
that's, a, that's an
Hmm.
observation.
well, that's a
Oo.
Defense mechanism na yun. Parang nga professor na hindi alam ang sagot, nagagalit agad.
HR
And,
performs a service to employees. Okay,
Mm.
so the HR head should brief yung mga kanyang staff that they have to provide a service. They don't necessarily, kasi tao lang naman tayo, baka tapagod siya, so hindi siya
Mm.
makasmile, di ba?
Mm.
Pero we have to be able to inform and explain to employees what's happening. Baka kasi na nagiging ano tayo, iba yung subjective, iba yung objective. Kung
Mm.
nasasabi na perform naman niya ng mabuti yung pagbigay ng information, kahit hindi siya mag-smile, pasado yun, di ba?
Mm.
Oo. Pero kung halimbawa, ano, yung mga unprofessional behavior, dinadabugan kayo, sinigawan kayo, minura kayo, that's already unacceptable.
Mm.
okay.
Rona, you have questions?
I actually don't have any question right now, pero gusto kong basahin yung comment ni Kat Suarez. Ang sabi niya, me not an HR in my job, but I'm the one who teach and talk about employee discipline, particularly how to write IR up to case close. And I learned all of this from Philippines HR group. I watched multiple times all the webinars related to this. All of these learnings I owed to Philippines HR mentors and coach mentors, Mentor Tina, Coach Darwin, Mentor Rona, Coach Alan, and Attorney Raymond, and Attorney Irwin, and HR experts, Sir June Mendoza. This group is a blessing. I'd like to thank, naputol na siya, pero ayun, I'd like to thank everyone within the group. Ayan. Kaya maganda talagang nanonood ng HR Cafe kasi marami po kayong matututunan. Tulad na lang ngayon na palagi na lang nagtatanong sa Philippines HR Group, paano po ba namin i-engage ang aming mga empleyado? Ayan, nabigyan na po kayo ng tip ni Ma'am Chris. Gusto kong i-highlight yung sinabi ni Ma'am Chris. Actually, all throughout, lagi naman niya binabanggit the importance of communications. And I do believe that as HR professionals, yan ang isa sa mga competency na dapat meron tayo. Kasi malaking tulong yan pag maayos tayo mag-communicate. Hindi magaling sa English, hindi yun ang sinasabi natin dito. Ang kailangan natin is maayos mag-communicate. You know how to get your thoughts across and you know how to
Yes.
actively listen. Kasi akala
Yes.
nung iba communication is about talking lang, hindi po, may kasamang
No.
part yun ng active listening, 'di ba, Mentor Alan?
Yun mismo. Not just the getting your message across, but yung more on listening. Dapat malaki tenga natin, mga taga-HR. Kasi, yan, di ba? Kaya nagdadabog yung iba, nagagalit, kasi hindi sila marunong makinig. Listen and listen. Very good. Thank you, Ma'am Rona. Tama yung sinabi mo yun.
Ayan.
Okay.
Mm.
Mentor Chris, meron ka pa po bang idadagdag for today? Meron ka po bang mga upcoming, mga public webinars? How can they get in touch with you? Saan pa yung pinakamadali kang makaka-reach out sila sa'yo?
Well, as I've said, well, right now I'm actively involved with the Toastmasters, yung Fourth Bonifacio Toastmasters Club. So I'm one of the mentors there, and also by its vice president of education. So again, we've been talking about communication. If they want to improve their communication skills, their public speaking, you can drop by our page doon sa F ano siya, Fort Bonifacio Toastmasters Club. And then if they want to ask me questions, they can privately message me. I'm available here on Facebook, Cristina Estacio Reclamado. And then they can also look at my LinkedIn page.
Ma'am Chris, before we end, can we talk a little bit more about Toastmasters? Because I'm not sure if many HR practitioners are aware of this international organization. I used to be a part of it in Taiwan. Highly recommended in boosting your communication, oral communication skills. Could you explain to the viewers what the Toastmaster is and how much time would it require from them and the results that it gives them? Kasi sobrang Toastmasters is one of the best programs I've ever seen in the
Well,
world.
it's a non-profit organization. It has a lot of clubs here in the Philippines. Okay. Why do I recommend my club? Because we can do it online. Okay, so we
Mm.
do our sessions online. When you are there, you can try to experience it for free. Okay, you wanna, if you think that, I mean, if you're trying to make up your mind if it's for you, you can visit you can, link connect with me. We can have like a free session. You can go in our session. It's either Mondays or Saturdays. And then what do we do there? We have our
Mm.
respective pathways. Okay, my
Mm.
pathway is effective coaching. Others have strategic relationships, and there's like around 9 pathways there. You have to devote some time in doing the projects. Okay, usually it's a speech project. And
Yes.
the sessions, when you do your speeches, there's an evaluation. And then
Mm.
if you feel very competitive, you can also attend or be part of its contests.
Mm.
May mga kaibigan ako, minaster yung toast. Kaya nung marami na nga inom, ang gagaling na mag-speech.
Minaster nila yung toast.
Oo, kaya ang gagaling na mag-speech 'pag nakainom na. Hindi po 'yun
Mm.
ang
That's a
sinasabi
good,
ni Ma'am
that made
Tina,
me
yung totoong toastmasters ang salihan ninyo.
uh,
Mm. It's not expensive naman, 'di ba, na Ma'am Chris?
well, it does have a membership fee. Okay.
Mm.
The membership fee is 3,000
Oh, that's
per,
cheap.
yeah,
Per
per semester. When you're
mm.
new, you have to like pay a registration fee like 1,000. Tapos yung the rest of it is 3,000. You can be a member as long as you want. Okay, and then but you have to choose your pathways because it has projects, and
Mm.
also like it has a lot of inter club activities. You can, well, what we do. I'm not sure kung allowed yan, but we join other clubs as guests. We evaluate. I mean, we do guest evaluations. We also like nakikihalo kami sa mga ibang club. So it's actually a tight knit community.
Mm.
Kaya lang ako nagsistay dun sa club ko kasi online pa rin sila.
Yeah,
Hmm,
so sa mga adults na wala it's a really great place for you to network with people from various industries and ages. And if you are still single, great way to meet like-minded friends. Yan, 'di ba? So, sinabi ko na 'yon.
mm,
Hindi you will never regret joining Toastmasters. Seriously, like you will not regret. This is like adult version of Kumon and eye level but better
Yeah,
because it
plus
will really boost your career.
yeah, and all the members naman that there are opportunities to take up
Yeah.
being an officer. You can
Mm.
even rise up to like district manager, mga ganon.
Mm.
But again, these are like parang structured
Yes.
hobbies. Okay, and then you get to meet a lot of people from all walks of life. I mean, it's
Mm.
not just in Manila. You can like meet a lot. I mean, there are in Albay, in Pampanga.
Mm.
Magigess ka doon, di ba?
Mm.
Yeah.
Very good. We're almost at the last part of their show. Last words from Alan, myself, then closer with Ma'am Rona.
Okay. Um, Nabanggit ni Ma'am Tina kanina na it's important that HR professionals should hone their skills, no? Lalo na if they want to have a serious employee engagement program. Siguro ito yung dahilan kung bakit there are some HR practitioners na hindi may lead by example or hindi sila na nagiging good example when it comes to employee engagement kasi they themselves are not fully engaged. They themselves are disengaged. Yun ang masakit. Sana kung ano lang medyo passive lang. Talagang disengaged. That's why when it comes to listening, which is supposed to be the number one skill nila in employee engagement, hindi nila magampanan. I think that's something that they really have to take seriously. Improve their skills. Since employee engagement has something to do with diagnostics, yan, conducting surveys, aralin din nila ng konti yung OD, no? Para malaman nila. Part ng listening is knowing the pulse of your employees. And doing it scientifically through diagnostics will help a lot. Another thing is collaboration. Huwag niyong angkinin, halimbawa, maging successful yung inyong employee engagement programs. And you cannot say, kaming may gawa niyan. By collaborating with other leaders and managers and sharing the credit, you will continuously get your support. Para next time around, pag kung nagkaroon ulit kayo ng employee program or activities, employee engagement, for that matter, nandun yung full support. Employee support as well as leader support. Remember, through collaboration, because collaboration is key. Yun lang pong dalawa ang gusto kong i-inject. I hope that would help.
Mm.
Kayo
For
po,
me,
ma'am.
honestly speaking, I don't think many local HR practitioners actually have very excellent communications, which is why we see in the PHRG page so many employees complaining against their HR practitioners because they feel that they're not being heard. They don't feel that they're being communicated enough, which results to disengagement. However, I do believe that HR practitioners who can hone their skills and improve their communication skills become indispensable and quickly rise up the ranks in any organization they're in. Basic pa lang, you need to know how to speak to others and communicate your ideas to others. And you also need to write. You cannot just assign that role to somebody else kasi ayaw mo magbasa and ayaw mong magsulat. Kasi even in a leadership position, you still have to read what your subordinates are writing, especially when it's such an important document. Because when it comes to HR, certain documents need to be proofread by you kasi some small changes in the wordings can completely change the essence of every document. So you need to master that. And in order for you to master that, you have to invest in honing this skill. It's not automatic na dahil magaling ka lang mag-English, pwede na. And you can see it in the life of Ma'am Chris, right? First, what she did is she joined a professional organization like Toastmasters to help her be able to do public speaking in English. Kasi in Toastmasters, if you use unnecessary words, if your thoughts are very scattered, hindi ka papasa, people will give you feedback so that you can continually improve yourself. You do this as well by joining webinars of how to improve your communications. You read more books, you write more articles, you try to shape your ideas more and organize it well. But for me, most important is don't ever forget to communicate with your shareholders inside your organization. And I'd like to specially mention that I think there is nothing better than talking to people, if not face to face, but through a phone call. Kasi a lot of people depend now on emails or chats or circulars. But there is nothing that connects an HR practitioner better to a fellow employee than actually hearing somebody's voice or actually touching each other in terms of hi. Kung lalo na pag remote kayo. Kasi I find that maraming tao, na-email ko naman sa kanya na-message ko naman sa kanya But sometimes, let us not forget to also give that person a call to give that extra boost of communication. Kasi minsan, some messages do get lost in translation. And for me, writing emails or posting circulars is just sometimes covering up your ass. But the most important thing of your role is to make sure that your point is understood and everybody is on board on what you're trying to communicate. That's the main role of an HR, to ensure everyone understands what the company is announcing. And if there's any questions, uunahan mo na sila na masasagot mo yung tanong kung may tanong man sila. Hindi yung aantayin mo sila mag-uusap pa sa isa't isa. Tatanungin pa nila yung kapitbahay nila, kakausapin pa nila yung asawa nila. And then later, pag napiko na, tsaka ka lang tatawagan sa'yo. Make sure when you communicate something important, the people get the message, are open to the message, and accepts the message. And that requires extra effort than just sending an email, or you also have to reach out. And I think if you do that as a practice, you will be hireable wherever you go. Because that's the cherry on top on what really makes a very good HR leader. That's just my opinion. How about you, Mentor Rona?
Gusto ko yung nabanggit mo, Mentor Tina, na dapat meron tayong extra boost of communication. Kasi I think that's one of the things that we are missing right now. We are so used to just releasing the memo and then expecting the employees to understand it. And then, pag hindi nila naintindihan and they come to you with a lot of questions, napipikon tayo kasi nandun naman na yun ba't nyo naintindihan?
Ah.
Doesn't work that way. In the company that I am working with right now, and this is a 100% remote company. This is global. This is not Uprush. This is a global company, 100% remote,
Mm.
and with employees coming from different parts of the world. Communication is very important to us. And one practice that I have picked up from working with them for a few months now is, whenever we communicate something, be it a change in the org structure, a change in
Mm.
compensation, a new activity, or anything, when we release a communication, it happens in a number of phases. Hindi ito ma-release lang okay na email lang
Mm.
okay na. Hindi.
Ah.
So we send them a notification via Slack. We send them the email. We already have a ready FAQ. Alam na namin,
Mm.
kumbaga kung sino man yung magre-release ng memo, let's say it's coming from talent operations, kami pa lang mismo, binubutasan na namin kung ano yung announcement. Ano yung mga
Mm.
palagay namin itatanong ng employees. And then from there, we create an FAQ, frequently asked questions, and we already have the answers there. We already have links where they can find more details about it. And then we also schedule fireside chats. So top management
Mm.
will schedule parang focus group discussion, small discussions with different managers, so that whatever questions na hindi namin nalagay sa FAQ, they can ask during those fireside chats, para once na implemented na siya, very minimal na lang yung question. And if you're working for a global company, I would really recommend having a ticketing system, just what Ma'am Chris has mentioned, fresh desk, or if meron naman kayong Atlassian, kung subscription with Atlassian, you can do Jira tickets. Para lang, if may mga questions, if may mga requests, o kung ano pa man, there is a centralized area where all of this would come in, and the HR, talent operations, the HR manager can quickly see ano ba yung mga usual concerns, ano ba yung mga usual questions. Baka we can do something about this. about this. HR should be proactive, not reactive. Hindi yung tipong kung kailan ang dami ng questions, saka lang tayo sasagot. Bago pa magkaroon ng mga questions, dapat meron na tayong plan, kumbaga, game plan in place in case na magkaroon ng mga questions, in case na magkaroon ng problema, that can help us minimize yung mga concerns nila. Kasi whenever HR releases something, any announcement, employees nandun kagad yan sa, naku, ano na naman ito. Hindi
Mm.
mo sila mapsisisi kasi 'di ba, usually naman HR is seen as an implementer of policy. So nandun kaagad sila sa ano na naman ito. So para hindi sila gano'n katindi anxiety level nila, any questions that you think they might have, ready dapat tayo dito. And this is where effective HR communications come in. HR need not be very good in English. Sabi nga ni Ma'am Chris kanina, kung nasa Visayan region ka at mas maiintindihan nila ang Bisaya, edi have your memos in Bisaya. Kasi mas maintindihan nila kasi ang aim nga natin, tulad ng sabi mo, Mentor Tina, the aim is to get the employees to understand whatever it is that you're trying to communicate. Hindi
Mm.
pagandahan ng English. ang aim natin is maintindihan ng mga empleyado para hindi sila worried, hindi sila anxious, at alam nila kung ano yung kailangan nilang gawin. Ayan po. Maraming maraming salamat sa atin pong mga viewers na nagstay hanggang sa mga sandaling ito. At syempre pa para naman po sa ating mga team replay, makikita nyo po ang ating video for today sa atin pong YouTube channel at makikita nyo rin po yan sa Philippines HR Group page at sa HR Cafe Facebook page. So kung gusto nyo po balikan ang ating mga episodes, punta lang po kayo sa groups na yan or sa Facebook pages na yan or sa YouTube channel namin para inyo pong makita ang ating episode for today. But for now, we've reached the end of the line. And we would like to thank everyone for staying with us. Thank you so much, Ma'am Chris, for sharing your knowledge with us and for giving guidance para po sa ating mga HR members po. At sa atin naman pong mga HR viewers, we will see you next Sunday para po sa isa na namang episode dito sa HR Cafe, usapang trabaho, buhay at iba pa. Mag-ready po tayo dahil Monday na naman bukas. It's the start of the second half of the year. Ilang tumbling lang, Jose Marichan na ito. So maraming maraming salamat po everyone and we'll see you next Sunday. Bye everyone!
Bye-bye.
Happy Sunday!
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.